Here we go. Welcome to the live premiere. I love watching this intro. Thought I'd start with this. It never gets old. What if we get a new game this year? Hopefully. Maybe at Summer Game Fest. Oh, yeah. I just hope there's something that's cooking up. We don't know what's going on yet. We did find out some other things. Look out! I just love seeing this. So here we go. We're gonna try to let's turn down the music. I'm not sure how loud it is. I just like how they added that. That's one of the best intros. Let's turn this down. We'll put it at. We'll do 2. Let's turn this down. Let's take the sound off, so it's not making that noise. The voices are gonna be off too. So we're just doing this for the live premiere. It's all about Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, but I want to also talk about something really quick with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3. You guys will probably be seeing this basically tomorrow, so I ran out of time trying to get the video I wanted to make from a few days ago, so I wanted to wait. Considering the things that has come out with speedrunners too, it seems like Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3 is gonna get moved, and I don't think we're probably gonna even get one anytime soon, especially for this year in particular, because the new game that the developers are working on that are behind or that are responsible for, or the developer team that's responsible for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl from the series itself, Fair Play Labs, is working on a different game called Speedrunners 2 if you haven't seen the trailer already. So it's coming out this year for PC or basically Steam only, and then it's going to come out in 2026 to consoles. So it's not a game that I'm a fan of, and not a game that I would probably spend money on, because it's just basically getting from point A to B. And just like I was trying to, the perfect example of that game is Super Smash Bros. 64, which had this mini game called Race to the Finish. You just race to try to get to the finish line or the goal before anyone else can beat you there. So I think it's going to be, that's basically the game in a nutshell of what Speedrunners is all about. I have not played the classic first original game, so I wouldn't really be able to talk about it like that, but that's what the game is. That's what the game is really about and what it entails as far as just looking at the gameplay. So I'm not really interested in it. I'm sure some people might be interested in checking it out, but I just think that now that we know what game they're working on and what they have been working on for quite some time, and they're going to be working on even more for the not just for the rest of this year, but into the next year for consoles, is going to have a 2026 release. So it's not going to be universal. It's not, meaning it's not going to be on every platform right off the bat, right from the get-go. It's just going to be available to play on Steam. But I just wanted to talk about that first, because now in this video I'm going to be talking about everything we need in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 if it was to happen. And I'm also going to be listing my top 10 DLC characters, because I'm not sure which characters are probably going to be able to get into this game if they end up making another one, since this game has a completely different team that's responsible for developing this game. Quest for Balance we had from the other previous projects outside of Nickelodeon Kart Racers. We had Avatar Quest for Balance. It was a pretty decent game outside of the crazy puzzles, because I ended up getting stuck and it was like tough to really try to find a guide to try to get through. Being stuck on a puzzle for like an hour, being in the endless loop, not knowing where to go, and things like that, and where everything is supposed to go when it comes to the puzzle and things like that. So we had Avatar Quest for Balance, we had DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, which we might also end up seeing that as a possible chance. This is the only title that's left that we could probably end up seeing for a possible Nickelodeon crossover, because I don't even think we're going to get a Nicktoons Unite this year, considering the new SpongeBob game that's coming out from THQ that we have not seen yet. So at least we know that's happening, that's real, and it's going to get shown. It's probably going to be at Summer Game Fest, most likely, because I highly doubt they're going to wait all the way till August for the next THQ sort of event to really be able to get into it, the THQ showcase. So we got a new SpongeBob game that's confirmed, that's coming out very soon. And just getting into this game, we might still have a chance of seeing kart racers. Maybe we'll get one. I haven't seen anyone really talking about it as much. I've just been the only one really talking about this game because I think it makes the most sense and it has the closest. It's more likely now, even more likely now that Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 3 is going out the window for now, because we're probably not going to end up seeing that unless another team develops the game. But I don't know if that's probably going to end up happening. Maybe by some probable chance it might get announced later on in the year as a project from a different team that might end up picking the series up, and it might end up coming out sometime next year. But I'm not banking on All-Star Brawl 3. I think Kart Racers 4 has the best chance of getting a chance to get revealed this year or probably this summer, because it had a summer reveal in July. So I'm not going to play like a race or anything like that. We'll just probably head on into the garage, which I think will be better, so people could be able to see. But I do like that song. Let's put that song on when you get ready to pick a character and you're trying to put your build together for a cart, and pick your crew members and things like that. So y'all can't hear the voices. And some of these tracks, maybe we could see some of these return. Maybe they might end up cutting some of these tracks. Maybe not all of these tracks might end up returning. This is all Avatar tracks from the Water Tribe, the Fire Nation, and so much more. You know, Ba Sing Se and the Spirit World and so much more. It's so many other tracks that's in this. I really love the tracks in this game. Maybe some of you guys have a favorite track. The music goes crazy. It's just dope. Everything is well made. Outside of the glitches and the bugs, the road show didn't even make it online. Maybe someone forgot. It's just silly just to mention that. The road show never was a playable track online. Maybe someone forgot to add it. I'm not sure what happened and what went down with that in regards to that. But it's the only missing track that's not playable online. But it's really fun to play. The music is great, and just the gameplay, all the different the slime slides that they added into this game and so much more. We're going to be talking about all the things that they did and all the things that I want to see changed, and then a little bit of a top 10 list that I'll do to finish the premiere. So this might end up going on a little bit longer, on the longer side, and I'll probably have I'll have the timestamps listed so people can listen in to what you want, and you don't have to just have the full video running through if you don't want to listen to me yap the whole time throughout the whole entire video or in the premiere. You could go ahead and leave if you don't want to watch. You can also just go into the comments and list your top favorite characters that you want to see if we get a Kart Racers 4. Maybe this is the end of the Kart Racers series, and which is probably why we got DreamWorks. It's so many things to really be able to talk about now, since we're getting closer to the summer, and most of these games that we least expect, and all the element of surprise is going to be there, where we don't know what's going to get shown and what's going to be able to show up on stage when it comes to the Summer Game Fest, and what they're going to really be able to showcase with some of these characters and some of these titles that are still under wraps that we don't know about. It's quite a few that hasn't been revealed yet, and it's still a lot of different questions. It's so much in the air. This game is in the air with the series itself, because we don't know what's going to happen yet. So that's why I'm going to make this video as a bonus video to talk about everything that we need as far as the game itself, to have a better product, to have a better title, outside of just spamming characters and talking about characters all the time. Let's talk about what kind of improvements can be made for these kind of games for the next game, so they don't have to run it, they don't make the same mistakes and characters get left out, and we just end up missing out on most of the fan demand or the fan requests. The most fan requested or most requested characters that people want to see in this game, outside of just my picks. You guys can also get into the comments for some of the characters that you're looking for, or maybe some changes that you want to see differently from this game if we get a new game. And maybe it might be something else. It could be DreamWorks. It could be a Looney Tunes Kart Racing. They could go that route. Maybe this could be the final game. So let's just go ahead and click on just any sort of track. This is the music. And we already know certain characters like JoJo Siwa definitely not coming back, because considering everything that's going on, so we're not going to be talking about that here, of course. but she was a great character, and she made it in Nickelodeon. She made it into Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 and 3. I didn't know who this character was. I thought it was Barbie. I thought it was someone else. Because when you look at the cover of Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, it made me think it was Barbie. I said, "Oh, they added Barbie up in the game," or maybe she was some. I knew she wasn't. She had to be someone different, but I just never seen this character before, and so I started playing the older Kart Racers games from a while back, because I didn't buy these games when they were new, outside of the Kart Racers 3, of course, because I wasn't interested in it, being a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl fan, playing the first game, and I was excited to play this game to see what they had and who got into this game. So this was my first Nickelodeon Kart Racers game, being open and honest, because I missed out on Nicktoons Racing from the PS1, and then they had the other ones come out with Kart Racers 1, 2, and now we got this one. So this was my very first Kart Racers that I got into as far as the Nicktoons series, because I was already playing Crash Bandicoot and Diddy Kong Racing from the Nintendo 64, Crash Team Racing, and so much more. Need for Speed. I was playing other racing games. Midnight Club, Burnout. They don't make those games anymore. I don't know what happened to those. Midnight Club and Burnout. What happened to those games? And Need for Speed is still around, still hanging around by some chance. And then we got Forza on Xbox and many other racing games there, that people play to this day. But the one thing I want to just get into is talk about, just to start this off, is talk about how, all the things that we got so far for this game, and just when this game came out, because this is a couple years old, and it came out October 18th of 2023. And launched October 18th, 2023 without any new content, because the only content that we had that was bonus was Eastman Laird Raphael. He's a clone. He's just no different. He has the same animations and more. He's no different. These two characters right here, I don't want to see them return. And if they do return, they should be transformed into costumes. They should be implemented into costumes. They didn't have any business being in the roster, because they don't have any differences. Because look at the stats, top left corner, top left, it's no differences, because the stats with Raphael, with the OG original Raphael, matches up to him. So the original, the real Raphael is cool. He's from the comics. But he shouldn't be behind a paywall when he doesn't do anything differently. He's just a different color. That's what these characters are in a nutshell. Purple Reptar and Eastman Raphael are just color palette swaps, and that's something I'm definitely going to be talking about in just a little while, as far as the major changes that I'm looking for in the next game. Because it's like they couldn't come up with anyone else besides these two, so I'm not sure how that conversation went down. It's just laughable sometimes, and I just laugh just talking about these characters, because they have the same animation and no stats differences. These guys didn't even bother even trying to even adjust and even try to change adjust the stats from the character speed, acceleration, the handling, and the turbo. And none of that was adjusted whatsoever. They just got into the game and they play the same with nothing really new besides a different color, besides looking differently. So it was just really wild to see this. And with this game being 2 years old, over 2 years old, I wonder, what are the chances, will we see another Kart Racers 4? What are the chances of seeing Kart Racers 4 this year? Maybe a new crossover? Because Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3 seems to be unlikely to happen, because there's a completely different game in the works for this year and the next year. So let's just start getting into what we got for this year. Well, not for this year, but for this particular game when it came out. So maybe some people might be seeing this for the first time and maybe skipped out on the game. Maybe they're on the fence of buying this game. I see a couple people come over here that just got the game and they just didn't know how to get some of these characters unlocked, because they're just playing the same mode and they're not getting anything for it. But they don't know that winning is so important, and you just have to play certain modes to really get some of these characters that are still locked. Some people still haven't even gotten some of these characters and don't know how to get them. And some of these characters that are locked behind online, it has its hidden secrets, because it doesn't tell you anything, and it doesn't really explain how to get all the characters, because it's just this mystery, this big mystery of trying to play something and hope that you get something. You just play something, come in first place, play a race, play a Grand Prix, hope that you get a character. It just doesn't work like that. So they did so many different things with this game, and even locking this racer behind the online wins. This only particular racer right here exclusively behind the online gameplay, and winning. Because if you're not winning, you're not going to get anything, and you're not going to be able to unlock none of these characters, because winning is such a big deal in this game. So playable characters day one was higher than I expected. Just seeing all these characters, I didn't think they were going to add characters like Odie. I didn't think Jimmy and Cindy was going to show up. These were some of the biggest surprises. I was mostly excited for Jimmy Neutron getting in, because way before he got into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, his character model looks great. Look at him. Some people have a problem with the eyes with some of these characters, like Cindy. Some people say they look weird, but everyone has different opinions. But the fact of the matter is that the whole sole purpose is that the character got in, and the series is represented with Jimmy Neutron getting in and being a playable character and a playable racer in his own lines and things like that. I wish he had some unique interactions with Cindy, which I thought was going to probably be something that this game has, but it doesn't. So all what you can see right now, what you guys can see right now on the screen with all these characters, just try to go slow. There's 42 characters and playable racers that are playable. 42 characters and racers playable. Looking at this roster, I think there's a lot still missing, even though the roster is bigger than Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1 and 2. This roster alone is even bigger than Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. When Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 was supposed to be bigger and better, this game puts the game to shame when it comes to roster. It completely destroys it because of all the representation of all these different characters being playable. There's two different games and two different genres, of course, but this is just another Nickelodeon crossover. It counts, and it is relative because this is another Nickelodeon crossover that exceeds all the other games. It's 42 characters. This is the biggest roster that I've seen in a Nickelodeon Kart crossover. I can't really speak about Super Brawl because I haven't played that. I don't know how many characters was in that. Maybe someone in here could tell me that, in the live premiere chat or maybe in the comments. But this is the biggest Nickelodeon crossover that has the most characters in it. It's 40 characters. It's 40 playable racers from the base roster, and then you get the DLC, which is Eastman, Laird, Raphael, if you get the turbo pack. Because way before then, before they started selling the turbo pack separately as a separate update in itself, the turbo edition, if you pay a little bit extra for the turbo edition, you will already be able to load up the game, and you'll have access to Zuko and Eastman Raphael without anything needed. You will already have access to the characters without having to do anything extra without playing your race. So all you would have to do is just boot up the game. If you bought the turbo edition like I did, and I ended up getting access to Zuko and Eastman, Laird, Raphael, and I was able to play as those characters right at the beginning. So the voice lines are great. The energy, every character has a lot of good energy. They'll say some of the same things, of course, but the voice acting is very well done. And Zuko's voice acting is some of his voice lines are some of my favorites in the game. When he says, "Take a bite out of the silver sandwich," there's so many different lines that the characters say, but he doesn't say anything special to Aang, Toph, and all the other characters and things like that. Lincoln Lau doesn't even know that he's going up against his own sibling, his own sister Lucy, but he has a line talking about her. So it's so many different things that they could change. So the two DLC characters, as I mentioned, is Zuko and Eastman, Laird, Raphael. So without purchase of the DLC, you will also miss out on the additional crew members that I'll get ready to show you guys. So we're just talking about what we have in the game and what we got, before we start talking about the changes that I want. So we got, what was I trying to do? I was trying to change this. So there were crew members. Firelord Ozai, Shredder, they were the crew members that were in the bonus, that was included in the turbo pack. So you will also get access to 2 playable racers and then two exclusive crew members, Firelord Ozai to represent the Fire Nation again, yet again. And then Shredder, who used to be a playable character in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2, got cut. He didn't even make it into a cheat. So he was a DLC, and he was locked behind a paywall. So just my thoughts on the DLC. It could have been so much more. Shredder didn't even make it in as a chief, which is so much closer to getting to the next level of becoming a playable character. Because characters like, if you guys play Kart Racers 2, characters like, I'll use April O'Neil for example. She was a chief in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. So she graduated and got the upgrade, meaning that she became a playable racer. So she went from a chief to a playable character. So they flip-flopped April and Shredder, but Shredder got done dirty and he didn't even get the chief line. He didn't get the chief role. So instead of becoming a chief, he was a crew member, because a chief is way more valuable than when it comes to this game. A chief has a lot more abilities and unique techniques over the crew members themselves. So you see how Gaz is a chief. Gaz will probably get to become playable before we ever see Shredder come back again. But we don't know what they're going to do if they ever to come back with this kind of title. So he got cut and became a crew member instead, and he was locked behind a paywall. And I think we need that change. We need characters like Shredder to return. And speaking of other chiefs that got in other cuts, and Angelica was playable too, and Tommy. Tommy is nowhere to be found in this game, and he got someone that got really done dirty is Tommy Pickles, because he's nowhere in sight in this game. He can't even be found, and you cannot unlock him. He's not a secret character. He's not a chief. He's not a crew member or any sort of paid DLC or anything like that. He could have came back eventually. But characters like Angelica, Shredder, and then Heifer that y'all see from Rocco's bestie, his best buddy, he got the cut. He got the they kicked him out too. And they sent him to become a chief. But what doesn't make sense is how he became a chief, but Shredder was behind a DLC paywall. I wonder whose idea was that. And he suffered the same fate as he did. So it's just really surprising to see all this and all the different changes that they made in this game. But just, I cannot complain, because there's so many. Look at these characters. It's quite a bit of unexpected characters and new faces that got in that people didn't really expect. It's that you at least expect to see show up in the Nickelodeon crossover, like Sheen, for example, Goddard, and things like that. Goddard was in Nicktoons Unite. He hasn't even been in a crossover in years. You know what I mean? So it's just so many different characters, and Real Monsters. I love that show. I even played the old school game. We got Crumb and Ickis, and Ablina got to stay in as a playable character who was also in Nickelodeon Kart Racers too. So she got to stay, but they went and expanded and added even more characters from that series. And Grumble. Can I see if I can find them? There they are. Grumble and the Snorch. So they expanded from that series. So it's really cool to see all this. So I just feel like, just to close this off with DLC thoughts real quick, there could have been way more options outside of them, besides Firelord Ozai and Shredder and Eastman, Laird, Raphael. He could have been a costume or some kind of skin. It could have been way more options to see these characters. It's just what I was saying. We don't need these two, but there could have been so much more options that could have joined in the future, but there wasn't anything else to look forward to, let alone any patches to fix and address bugs and performance issues like frame rates and issues. I had someone over here that's new. He probably listening to this right now. He was over here on one of the recent Nickelodeon Kart Racers streams, and he was talking about how he just got the game for Xbox, and he's having so much issues with the frame rate. The frame rate on Xbox seems to have some more issues apparently. So it might not be for everybody, but maybe it's Xbox One or something like that, or the Series X. He could be playing on a completely different console. Something could be going on. And this game has some magical bugs and some new ones that continue to break with the AI being stuck, running into the wall, even in the mini games. So it's new bugs that's being produced from this game itself, and even sometimes the jellyfish will even ignore you sometimes. It's just so many things that goes on in this game, and there's so many different problems outside of just the DLC. A lot of changes could have been made. It just didn't get anything else once it came out outside of just Eastman, Laird, Raphael, and the characters I just mentioned. Outside of the turbo pack, there was nothing else. Communication completely stopped, And it was just nothing else to look forward to when people were expecting new characters. Like me, I was looking forward to the next DLC pack. I was making DLC packs and racer packs and for what I want to see for future updates to join in. And I was like, man, this character can this roster, this character roster could have like 80 or more characters. Cause we have 42. This is a giant roster. And that's not even, I'm not even counting the characters from the crew members. Cause look at all these characters. All the different roles. We got Nick from Jimmy Neutron, Hugh, and Judy. Judy hasn't even been included in some of these games. And Carl. You know what I mean? The croissant lover himself. There's so many good options that they added. Even from the Loud House, they could have expanded and added new Loud House characters. I know some of y'all want to see some of these Loud House characters. So it's so much more that they could have did with DLC and more that could have got in. But it's just unfortunate that, you know, a couple years later, it's nothing new. And we haven't gotten anything new as far as, you know, content and new characters that could have been in the game. So I kind of wish that it was more. And just seeing the different faces, like the camper characters, of course, they have differences because they have different lines and animations, the stats. They hit all the boxes. They check all the boxes. See what he does? He does different things. For the animations, he says different lines. They don't sound the same. That's what they could have did with some of these other characters, and even characters like Squidina that I didn't even know who she was because I didn't even know about this character, and I didn't know she was related to Patrick Star. So it's just cool to see all the different things that they did. But now, for this portion, I'm going to start talking about what's wrong with this roster. What do we need? What kind of content do we need? What do we need for the next game? And what do we need changed so we can have a better game and more things can barely be able to be implemented for new updates and so much more, so players can really be able to be excited and continue to support the game and not leave and get bored of the game and not have any sort of faith whatsoever for future content. So the one thing that I want to just get into real quick, for starters, take a look at this roster. Just look. Got SpongeBob. Look, what comes to mind? And what do the TMNT do? They fight crime and they stop the bad guys and evildoers to protect New York City. And April's a fighter too, a great one at that. All these characters that y'all see, they're heroes. They heroes or play a role and they stop bad guys. And Zuko himself joining forces with Aang and things like that. They stop the bad guys. They fight off the crime and they protect the citizens. They protect the world every single day, and they fight crime and try to protect their world from any danger. If they see something wrong, they're going to try to step up to the plate and try to stop evildoers and the villains themselves. The key word is villains. The lack of villains in this roster is crazy. And I think the only villain that we got right now is them. Someone said that Reptar is a villain, but I don't know. I don't know about that. Would he count as a villain? But I think the main villain that comes to mind is them. Danny Phantom is not a villain. You know, all these characters, they're heroes. Cindy saved Jimmy Neutron's life. She's a martial artist. They fight off evil and they stop the bad guys. Zim is the only antagonist and or villain we have in this game as a racer, so this needs to get changed. Some villains are playable. Well, I don't want to say playable. Some villains are represented and show up, like Vexus, Queen Vexus, for example, Skulker, and Dib is a protagonist. Plankton, and then Vlad Plasmius himself. He needs to be a playable character. He deserves to come back. Most of the other villains that you could possibly see from this roster, the tallest, things like that, they're all villains. They're not really playable. They're not unlockable playable characters. They're just crew members and chiefs in that matter. So Zim is the only playable villain that's in this roster. And the thing is, there's so many other deserving villains from these shows, from this crossover, that can get into this game that I would love to see. So I'm hoping that they do something like this. Let's change into it. Let's change it up. Let's get Zumsa back up. He's outnumbered. He doesn't even stand a ghost of a chance being outnumbered by Aang, Toph, and Danny Phantom and Jimmy Neutron and SpongeBob and all the other ones and Genie Wakeman and so much more. He's completely outnumbered. He won't even be able to. He won't even be able to probably scheme up a plan in a time because he's already going to be destroyed and his plans are going to be squandered before he even gets a chance to even try to write up an idea to try to take over the world. Because that's one of the problems that needs to be changed, because there's the lack of villains, and I'm noticing that quite often with some of these games. It happened with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 also. Just to share, that roster was lacking villains too for playables. So it ended up happening to this game way before prior. So it happened back to back. So what's some of the villains that y'all want to see? If you want to get into that. Now, the other problem, we're going to get into this. Unlocking characters is a major grind in this game, and it isn't explained, whereas some characters are a lot behind the online that I already mentioned. Helga is the only character that's locked behind the online. That's a playable racer, of course, but everyone else, certain chiefs and crew members like Grandma Gertie, online members that are locked from the online itself. Lori and stuff like that, she's locked behind the online. Even some of the paint, some of the car parts are locked behind the online as well. So there's so many other different things that was so secretive. The unlockables in this game are just a huge secret, and you just won't know until you start playing. And if you play enough, you'll eventually get something. But once you play, you have to win. Winning is more important than just playing the game. Winning should not even matter. And the only exception, Grand Prix first place can be an exception, because you want to come in first place to really be able to unlock a character. They did it right in DreamWorks. DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing did that. So certain characters like Donkey, Bridget from Trolls, and other series from the DreamWorks game that they ended up coming out with shortly after this came out the following year. Some of the characters were locked behind the Grand Prix. You had to come in first place. You didn't have to win every race, but you had to finish at first to really be able to, for the final standings in the winning circle, to really unlock those characters, and you had to complete the Grand Prix. That game didn't have a single online unlockable, but they did it for this game, which I don't understand why. And with the winning sort of ordeal, if you're not winning, let's back it up. We're going to get into everything else too, and I want to bring up the challenges as well, so I'm going to bring that up on the screen. Let's bring this up. So winning was so important. So if you're not winning your online matches or winning the slime scrambles, you'll never unlock the other hidden car parts, crew members, paint designs, even the carts and the bikes. And if you could believe it, there's even a hidden bike that requires 138 online wins. It's laughable because it's just a bike, and that's just how crazy of a grind it is. You're gonna go that extra mile just for a bike that you probably not even gonna really play as that much, when it's a faster bike with Johnny 13's bike and other kart builds and bike builds that you can use that could really be able to match up and be able to compete, if not give you a better advantage over the Spittle Runner, which is the Invader Zim bike that you get. It's the final unlockable online. But 138 online wins, they just probably thought everybody was going to be able to win so easily. But it didn't work like that. Everybody had to really be able to grind and earn. You had to fight, scratch, and claw to try to get some of these characters and to be able to get stuff online. It was really sad. And just with what they did with these challenges, you could get some of these characters from the challenges, but not all of them are here. See how some of the challenges are blank? But they just require you to beat the challenges to complete them so you could get ready to unlock the boss fight. And the thing is, just with the winning sort of ordeal, it was such a mess because everybody was trying to fight for wins, and anybody that was better than you and just knew the shortcuts, they were just going to beat you every time. You just weren't going to have a good time to even try to have a chance to unlock those characters because you lost. It doesn't matter if you got like 50 hours or how long you've been playing. If you're not winning and playing, you've been grinding all week playing online, or grinding all weekend for the holiday weekend, for say, trying to unlock some of these characters, you're not going to be able to get these characters unlocked because you're just going to run into that brick wall. Because if you lose, you're not going to have anything. You're just going to open that door over and over and over, and there's not going to be anything behind that door. You're just going to be empty, and you're just going to go out and leave empty-handed because you're not going to get anything because you did not win. So that's just something that was really a pain about this game, and I'm glad I played it when it was still active because I got everything, and then I came out with a guide to explain how to unlock every single thing in the game because no one else did on the whole website. So because people were so lost on how to get these characters and how to play the game and what to get into and what the game had to offer and which characters were in and how to get access to them, it was definitely just a big confusion. So it was something needed, and this game just doesn't explain anything very well outside of the tutorial. It doesn't explain anything about these characters. Some of them were locked in the garage that you could purchase from the slime coins, which is cool. So the I would say another thing, skin replacement characters are a huge mistake because it ruins the possibility of seeing other new characters of joining the roster. And there's slot wasters like Purple Red Star that we already talked about just from these characters alone. I just realized I went backwards. Let's go into the garage real quick. Because these are skin replacement characters. These are skin replacements or color palette swaps. We need these changed ASAP that I already mentioned real quick. It ruins the possibility of other new characters being able to join in that people wanted to see. Because these are the two slot wasters, in my honest opinion. I'll keep JoJo Siwa over these two. Why? Because she's different. She's a live action character, and because she stands out the most, and she's not a lazy pick when it comes to these two characters. It's lazy, and they don't have anything to offer that's unique about them, besides looking differently. And that's where also it follows up my next point. I'm going to bring up costumes for racers. So costumes, these two can be costumes. They don't need to be playable racers. You could just pick, let's use Red Star for example. You could pick Red Star, change to Purple Red Star, and pick a costume. Or I could be the OG original Raphael. He's cool but rude. You could pick his Eastman Raphael skin and be able to switch it. It'll be a good idea, and it can be able to benefit so people could be able to unlock some of those costumes and play to unlock them. Special attacks and special items, I would love to see return. Leonardo, Mikey, and Donatello, they had their own unique specials. The shurikens, the ninja stars or something like that. Donatello with his gadgets. Michelangelo with his nunchucks. And then Raphael had his size that he was able to use in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1. It never made a return. These special items and special attacks need to return. Because each racer had their own unique special attacks in the first game. You know, the Timothy had their weapons, you know, that I just mentioned. Angelica had the chocolate chip cookies that she could use as a speed boost. Each time she eats a chocolate chip cookie, she would get faster. It was really awesome to see that. I think that was one of the best parts. That's the best thing that the first game had over the second and third game was those special items, because those didn't exist. They never made a return. Even Tommy's ball was a special item, but it became a regular item from the item bots. So, but Tommy's no longer around. So we got Chucky and Susie. Well deserved, by the way. But we definitely need to see most of these characters make a return, and they can expand on what they have here, and we can get those special items to return. A special meter can be implemented, a special meter that can be built up to use to help players catch up in the race. So if you fall behind and someone's dominating you online, hopefully they don't do that online win thing where you have to online wins only, where you have to unlock stuff. But if someone gets a special meter and you build it up, you could get that burst of speed and be able to use it. So even if they don't bring back the special items or the unique special techniques from these characters, like Aang going avatar state, for example, that'll be cool to use on the field for offense and defense. He'll be invincible and he can be able to get a massive speed boost. It definitely sounds overpowered, but it would be cool to see something like that, and it could get balanced for future updates so they can make it fair for the other characters. Don't y'all think like that'll be some kind of cool technique to bring to the table for our next game if we do get one? a special meter that could be built up to help you catch up, and you can use it for clutch moments. So if you're saving it for later, you can use it just to get that to secure first place. It'll be dope. And now, character interactions. I would love to see those character interactions with bosses. So that's what I wanted to bring the challenges up. I knew I was going backwards, but the character interactions. So I'll bring the challenges up this time. The character interactions, I would love to see it, because SpongeBob sometimes it'll pop up with the bosses, because Squidward will say something to SpongeBob and vice versa, and then April O'Neil will say something to Leonardo, and then Chucky thought, I don't know if they did that on purpose. He says to Lena, for a second I thought you were Angelica. He says that at the start, or I think she says something in particular, but it's so random. It's so random, but you never know when it's going to come out, because it's not consistent. It's just a random chance. It's not a unique interaction. It's just so many other things that get said, and it's the randomness of the bosses being able to talk, because you don't know if they're going to say anything, and it's not a guaranteed line that's going to come out with these bosses. I would love to see these characters be able to react to the characters, and the bosses being able to have like cut scenes, things like that. I would love to see something like that added in. Character interactions with bosses and the other characters, because DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing had Shrek react to everyone in the roster. You could play as Diane, Mr. Wolf, the Boss Baby. He will also talk to Shrek and all the other characters. Donkey and many other characters were playable, and they would also talk to each other. It was as if they met each other. They were talking as if they met. And that's something that I really treasured the most from DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, is that the DreamWorks characters from all these DreamWorks animation films were talking to each other and would have reactions. It's something that it's a big takeaway from that game that I would love to see in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, or a new crossover, if anything. Everyone had a voice line for one another, and I will hope that they would consider doing that for these kind of characters, because Potter Toastman meeting other heroes like Danny Phantom, they're both crime fighters and they stop evil. So it's like, what would Potter Toastman say to Danny Phantom, just for example, because they both heroes. It'll be cool to see what that if they let that happen, if possible. So I just hope that we get those kind of interactions. And now my other point that I want to talk about, and then I'll be getting into my top 10 to close out this premiere. I know it's been a little bit long. I almost dropped my controller. We need new shows. We need new shows. I'm going to just go back to the garage instead of just clicking on extra stuff. We need new shows, and we'll just start at the top. We need a lot of new shows. Let's put it on Squidward. We need new shows and others represented instead of SpongeBob and the TMNT, because they tend to take up a lot of the slots. This counts as SpongeBob. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 7 different characters, and the TMNT has 5 characters. And I'm not saying don't think about the chief, and don't think about the chief and the crew members. SpongeBob has 7 different characters. Let me see, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 different characters, because she's from the Patrick Star Show, but that's a SpongeBob rep. SpongeBob has 7 characters. TMNT has 5. Loud House only has 3 playable characters. But it's always, why is it only always Lincoln Loud and Lucy Loud? What about the other Loud House characters? But, you know, outside of the already represented shows, we don't have too many new shows that's already in this, you know, besides Camp Coral. I think that's the name of the show. I haven't even seen it as much. Camp Coral, the Patrick Star Show. Let me see, that's 2. That's 2. Jimmy Neutron, that's 3. It's 3 of them. Garfield was already in it, but we got bonus reps. We got 2. Jimmy Neutron. Maybe the Patrick Star Show can't count, so maybe 3. So 3 new reps, 3 represented shows, but it still counts as SpongeBob, because it's Camper SpongeBob and Patrick. We need some new shows. We need some new representation, because some of these shows are just taking up all the slots. When it comes to racing games, the slots do matter. It might not count ever again for a fighting game though. But when it comes to a kart racing game, the slots are going to matter. See what's going on. See what's going to happen with Mario Kart. Mario Kart World, let's see how many characters are going to get into that game. But it seems like it's only Mario. See what else, see what they do if they're going to expand. But for this, it's only 3. So the Camp Coral, the Patrick Star Show for being the second for Squidina. And then the third being Jimmy Neutron. Because Jimmy Neutron and Cindy, no one from Jimmy Neutron existed from Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2. So it was a new rep and then the new characters that got in. A new rep, a new set, well, a new represented show, and a new set of characters that got in. So Jimmy Neutron, Patrick Star Show, and Camp Coral. So it's just like 3 different shows, but it would also, it could go as far as saying that it's already represented when it comes to Camper SpongeBob because they're SpongeBob characters. So it's as if it will probably cut down to 1 new series with Jimmy Neutron. So that needs to get changed for the next game. So it's just characters like, you know, we got all these different characters that's in the game, and it's a big roster. It's very well done because there's plenty of options. You could try to mix it up. You could play as Zim and Gur, things like that. He has some really funny lines. We need new shows represented. So I definitely want to see things like this get changed with new reps. And I'm going to start getting into my top 10 DLC characters. So something I want to just bring up, it's still players out there that's stuck trying to unlock these characters and didn't have any clue of how to unlock these characters in the game. And I hope they'll do something like that when it comes to explaining more and helping the players out, and the players can have a clue and an idea of how to get some of these characters unlocked. So it's still people stuck that's still trying to get some of these characters, which is crazy. And they can't play the game online because there's no one to play and it doesn't have crossplay. So I'm hoping that's something that's going to be included as well, because crossplay is something important. It's people still stuck out there and people can probably exchange wins and things like that. It'll make it a little bit easier. But now for my final portion for this video is my top 10 DLC. We're going to get into this to close out the video. You can mention the top 10 characters that y'all want to see for characters that you guys want to see in this game, or maybe in a new Nicktoons crossover if we get one. But there's so many that I would love to see changed, and there's so many others that I want to see just be able to get into the game and shine on. So these are going to be all new shows. We don't even need to stop at these kind of characters. It was great to see Odie get in. I would love to see him return. So my top 10 DLC, I'm just going to run through them. Timmy Turner is definitely number 1. I don't know what's going to happen with him, if we're going to end up being able to get access to him. Hopefully we'll be able to get to see him someday. Maybe he'll return if we do get another one. Instead of running in circles and going back and forth with the same character, see what Odie was doing, chasing his tail. We don't want to be going in that kind of loop and just going back and just ending back on square one, where none of the characters that people want to see still are missing and not being represented with all these shows that could be able to get into the game, and people could be excited and start supporting and putting money into the game and supporting developers because we're getting the characters that we want to see instead of the predictable shows getting in. Rock, paper, scissors for an all-in-one. Maybe it'll exceed, maybe it sort of kind of exceeds the top 10. But I put rock, paper, scissors as an all-in-one, as a trio. Snap for number 3. For Chart Zone, I want to see Rudy also, but this is just my little list I put together. Rocket Power, so underrated. I want to see Rocket Power reps. I put Reggie Rocket, Eliza Thornberry. Just look at this roster. Just think about the Nickelodeon Kart Racers series real quick. None of the Wild Thornberry's characters ever got in. They never made it in. Because I think Eliza was in Nicktoons Racing from PS1, but from the actual Kart Racer series for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1, 2, and 3, no, not a single Wild Thornberry's character is even in the game. But they've always been in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl though. Just take that in and think about that for a second. Wild Thornberry's is still missing for some reason, and I wonder why. So I put Eliza Thornberry in for another pick. And then just to speed through this a little bit, I went with Nick Jr. reps for a surprise, since this is a game I think they would belong in instead of a platform fighter. You know, they'll have a better chance. We got a Nick Jr. crossover way before we got to see Nick Jr. characters get into a racing game. That Nick Jr. Party Adventure was a nice crossover. So maybe they'll do something like that of a similar like adding Nick Jr. characters as playable racers. So I went with Dora the Explorer. Nick Jr. routes can belong in this kind of game, and it makes the most sense. Tough puppies, Kitty Catswell, Dudley Puppy that I also wanted to drop in, but Robot and Monster, we got duos like Ren and Stimpy that are separate. Maybe they'll split up Robot and Monster as playable racers as an idea. And I wanted to do like a villain, since there was a lack of villain and stuff like that for DLC. I threw in Professor Calamitous from Jimmy Neutron. So I wanted to add him in as a new iconic villain, and he could probably have some cool little interactions with Jimmy Neutron to try to slow him down. He could even be a boss from the challenges, because the challenges only got 6 characters. I didn't want to go back. Almost hit the wrong button. The challenges only got like 5 to 6 characters, or 6 challenges for 6 bosses. They can expand and do like 12 or more, so people can be able to unlock more characters, and they can give players more to do. And if they get in as DLC, they can get in as playable new challenges with their own unique set of challenges to complete, and then you can unlock the boss fight, race against them, defeat them, and then unlock them. That'll be a nice little cool change that I would like to see. So maybe some of these characters could be new boss fights and challenges for people to be able to play against and experience. And then the last one is a reach, is glitch tests. So I'm not sure what's going to possibly happen with this series with glitch tests, which is a Nickelodeon show, but it's on Netflix. So I just put glitch tests as my final pick for new reps for my top 10 DLC list. I'm gonna have this listed in the description as well as the timestamps, so people can read through it if y'all want to. But I'm not sure if they're gonna be able to get the glitch tests in some of these titles, because it's just a question of whether or not will they be willing to go for those kind of characters instead of pushing for the same characters and going for the same characters from the identical shows that's already represented. And it's just gonna leave characters out that people want to see so badly get in and get some kind of spotlight. Even underrated shows like shows like Mighty B, classics like Kablam. I want to see all those different characters and more get into the game. There's so many characters that I can name. It's a whole giant list of missing characters. This whole list and this roster for this game has so many characters, and because of the decisions that they made for this game to close this out, there's no one playing this game anymore. There's no one else playing this game anymore, and they're not really representing the game properly. So you just run into lobbies looking like this. It doesn't matter. You could just go back, change your character, and things like that. You could change the character, try to back out as many times as you want. The decisions that they made for this game and the things that they done for this game is what has affected the future for this game, because people weren't really fans of these characters and they didn't want to see these two faces get in. And it's just not a good choice. You can pick any character you want, hope that you find someone. You'll be waiting for hours on end trying to find someone to play, and you're just not going to be able to find anyone to play with. And even with these characters that you want to get into a race, you feel like playing this game, you can see some people playing the game. I'm surprised to see people playing the game, but these guys are probably not even going to bother even trying to stay. You see what I mean? So I'm glad I got this on the line. I want to play this, but it's just surprising to see. It's surprised they can't hear me, because this game, look, somebody left. See, when they start seeing these, and then they both left. When they start seeing these badges, this is what I was talking about. This is the perfect example. People are not going to want to try to play this game. I'm about to get up out of here myself anyway and play a different game. But anyway, it's just like, this is the perfect example. They see these badges, they don't want to play. So they know it's going to be a problem. And see how, before I get ready to leave, it's going to be a continuous problem, because while we're in the lobby, the least amount of players that's in the lobby, the longer it takes to start a match. You're just going to be sitting there, and then just say if you get lucky like I did today, they're going to go and try to find their own lobby. It's just going to take longer to find players. I don't need to play this game anymore because I got everything unlocked. So it's just a perfect example. See what goes on? They don't want to play, and they know how important it is to win. Because they know that you're not going to let them win, and they're just going to be stuck in this endless loop where they're not going to have a chance to fight to be able to get to the finish line so they can get some of these characters unlocked. So it's just an ongoing problem. It's just proof in the pudding, just like y'all saw. I was surprised to see them. I haven't seen none of those names before. So I'm surprised to see um, the players are still trying to look for people to play with, but they're not going to stay. It's just not a fun experience when you lose all the time, and it's just so important to win to be able to get a reward in this game. So that's just something that I wanted to really just be able to talk about. It was perfect to just see that pop up. I was very surprised to see that. I was not expecting that. So it's perfect for my video. And that's just what I was always just talking about. When people see the badges, that's something I left out. When they see that you got everything, they know that you're going to be a pretty good player, and you're just going to be able to zoom through the map, through the course, know all the shortcuts, and you'll just be at an advantage. But let me know what you guys think. What characters do you guys think will get into this game? If we get one, hopefully we get some news. Maybe it might show up. Maybe we'll get a different game. We'll just have to wait and see what they show. But Summer Game Fest is going to get closer, and maybe some other hidden surprises. We might end up getting a shadow drop of a trailer for some of these games. But even if we don't get a Kart Racers 4, they're still probably going to get even more characters added. This went on longer than I expected. Almost close to an hour. But we're probably going to get a lot of different games coming out. Maybe they might be done with this series. This went on longer than I expected. I'm definitely putting timestamps in. But I'm just hoping that we'll probably get some good titles. We'll probably end up getting more announcements for other games. Maybe this could be the final Kart Racers game that we get, considering the fact that they moved on to DreamWorks and Looney Tunes. So that might be evidence that they're not willing to do another game. Maybe this was the final game that they wanted to do, and it's the proper send-off. But we definitely deserve another game that needs more new shows and advantages for the game, for it can have an advantage to bring more players in, to bring consistent players in with crossplay and so much more, so people can be able to play and enjoy the product and just be able to look forward to new updates. And these games can keep going on and have a good lifespan, and they don't die off so quickly because it needs crossplay. This kind of game needs crossplay instead of just being limited to one platform where everybody will be able to race against each other. But we'll have to see what we get, even if we don't get one. I'm still excited for the new SpongeBob game. It's so much more to look forward to with all the new titles. So we'll just have to see what happens. Maybe this could be the year. Maybe we might end up getting something.